Okay, so let's start. Welcome everybody. Welcome to this Open Charge Alliance webinar about the IEC publication. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Hanna Kolotzek. I am the Open Charge Alliance Communication Officer, and I will be hosting this webinar today for you. If you have any questions for us, please post them in the question box, which you can find on the right side of the webinar panel. And we will have a Q&A in the end, and we will try to answer all your questions. So let me introduce our speakers for today. First of all, we have Lonneke Driessen. She's the director of the Open Charge Alliance. So welcome, Lonneke. And then we have our guest speaker, Hussein. He will be joining us as a part of an IEC technical working group. So Hussein, also thank you for joining us today. So Lonneke, if you're ready, you can start off with introducing yourself, and you can start the presentation.
Yes, thank you, Hanna. So welcome everybody to this webinar. Hussein and I have prepared a couple of slides for you to explain the cooperation between IEC and the Open Charge Alliance regarding the standard OCPP, also known as IEC 63584. And we hope during the presentation that we can answer all your questions. If there are still some questions, of course, in the end, we'll do our best to address all of them. So as I mentioned, Hussein joins us today since Hussein is the co-convener of TC69's Joint Working Group 11. And as Hanna explained, I represent the Open Charge Alliance in this webinar. Hussein and myself are not the only persons, of course, involved in coordinating the development of OCPP and IEC 6584. And in this picture, you see three other important persons. Maybe you know some of them. First of all, Cor Melker. He is our official IEC OCA liaison. In the middle of the picture, you see Jacob Betts, and he is the chair of the Open Charge Alliance Technology Working Group. And the Technology Working Group is the group actually working on the OCPP specification itself regarding the protocol. And the final picture you see is from Paul Klapwijk. He is the chair of the Open Charge Alliance Compliance Working Group. And within OCA, the Compliance Working Group is responsible for developing the test cases that are part of the specification, which in OCPP terms are the parts 5 and 6 of the specification. So now you know all the persons that are involved in the structure of developing OCPP/IEC 6584. But first of all, I'd like to ask Hussein to explain to us where we are now at the moment.
Yeah, thank you, Lonneke, for the introduction. I think most of us already heard the big news, but it's always good to give a reminder and give the context. So towards the end of last year, 2024, IEC announced the approval of the Open Charge Point Protocol, OCPP, as an international standard, which is known also as IEC 63584. So it's very important to say that IEC 63584 is based on OCPP 2.01 and was submitted as a fast-track document. The entire OCPP specification, including the schemas, are part of IEC 63584. In fact, and to highlight a very important point, IEC 63584 is the result of a liaison category A between OCA and IEC TC69. And for those who do not know what is IEC liaison category A, it is for organizations that make an effective contribution to the work of the committee for questions dealt with by this committee. So, with OCA effective ecosystem, organizations of Blackfest, dynamics of standardization, and state of the market, liaison category A was made between IEC and OCA towards the end of 2023. Then, based on this liaison and complying with the directives of IEC through a fast-track document submission, which was positively voted, we have now IEC 63584, which you can find now available at the IEC web store. Next slide. Okay. So adding to that, OCPP was also approved as CENELEC European Standard, EN 63584. And here it is very important to understand that this is actually not the end. We're not the end of our work, but it's a start of the journey. It's a start of a journey. What I'm trying to say is collaboration between IEC and OCA is not an option, but a necessity to advance. Yes, we will have several questions that would arise and a new question would emerge. And I think this is what the webinar is about, is to say that we are working and we need to continue working to move forward. So to explain, let's say, some of the steps, such the possibility of IEC experts joining OCA as liaison partner, I will hand it to you, Lonneke.
Thanks, Hussein. So during the vote on the liaison A, as well as during the fast track vote on OCPP 201 edition 3, there was an information document included. And if you've seen that in that information document, also it was described in what way IEC will be involved in the future development of OCPP. And this was a diagram that was in both the inf document in both cases. And as Hussein has just told you, I'd like to explain more what that would mean in practice. So if you want to participate in the development of OCPP, there are 3 options. The first option, of course, is that your company can always join your Open Charge Alliance. That will mean that your company will pay a participants fee, and then you and all your colleagues, the whole company can join. And you can join all working groups. And if you acquire services from OCA, you get a member discount. But that is, of course, the standard way of joining OCPP development. And this is not the focus of the webinar today. Today, I'd like to focus on options 2 and 3, specifically for IEC experts. So option 2 is if you're an expert, you can join as an IEC liaison member. And that means that only you will join, so not your colleagues. And you will join for free because liaison membership is for free. And again, you can join all the groups. But since you're not a paying participant, you will not get discounts and you cannot vote inside OCA. That is not connected to a liaison membership. The third option is if you are too busy or you don't see that as an option, you can always join the development of OCPP as an IEC expert from within your own technical committee or systems committee. And in that case, you will have visibility of all the draft documentation and you can provide feedback along the way. So now I will go more into detail regarding the option 2 and 3. So first, of course, option 2. So if you decide that you really want to be actively involved and you want to join IEC as an OCA as an IEC liaison member, you can go to the Open Charge Alliance website. There you will see a button saying join us. And if you tap that button, you see several options, and you also see this option, IEC Expert Liaison Application. I will need to put on my glasses to be able to read to you. So Hussein has permitted me to use his name as an example. So you enter your email address, because that's how we communicate. And of course your name, again, your email address, and then you state on behalf of which national committee you want to participate, and on behalf of which IEC working group. I know that many of you are part of more than one working group, and it doesn't matter which working group you select, so just select the technical committee or system committee of your choice. It doesn't really matter. Second part is we ask you for your company information, and I will explain later why that is. So Hussein is employed by Vedecom in France. If you're self-employed, then of course your company, if you have your own company name, you enter that. And an important part also to fill in is the email address of your manager. I will explain shortly why that is. Of course, everybody has a manager, and if you don't have a manager because you're self-employed, then you can type in your own email address because you're literally your own boss. The reason why we are asking for your manager is to ask approval of your manager that you join. And I think many of you will be familiar with the IEC Notice to Employer. All of you have asked your managers to sign this as well. Within IEC, your manager needs to agree to you sharing knowledge to IEC, and IEC will get copyright of that knowledge in the standards that they publish. And similar to that, when you type in the email address of your manager will get this email stating that you have asked to become a liaison member on behalf of IEC, and if they agree. And this is the agreement that your employer needs to sign. You can see it here in detail. And basically, since I think you all know that Open Charge Alliance and OCPP is open source, so it's not possible to include your licenses or your intellectual property and then require licenses for that into OCPP. And it's very important, and it's good that your manager is aware of that. Then there are 3 documents that you would need to sign: the participants agreement, the rules, and the questionnaire. I will first explain the participants agreement. So this is the standard agreement that every OCA member signs, and in your case, you would only fill your own name, so Hussein, Hassan, and the company, of course, not applicable because you are not joining on behalf of your company. You are joining as a liaison participant on behalf of your IEC expert, the fact that you're an IEC expert. So this is the way to fill in the form, just with your name, and no company information is needed. One thing that we are required to ask of all participants relates to expert sanctions and improper payments. So Open Charge Alliance is a Dutch foundation, and we need to abide by Dutch law. And this is actually a regulation that any company must adhere to, and also us, and our bank is monitoring this. So it's something that's it's a bit of a hassle, but we can't avoid it. So we hope you understand that you need to agree to abide by expert sanctions and not improper payments. So this is just a formality that we cannot omit. So once you have applied for your liaison membership, of course, we will make a check at the expert management system at IEC to actually see, yeah, okay, you are an IEC expert. We've checked with your employer, and then you've signed these 3 documents, and then you will be an OCA liaison participant, and that will mean that you will get access to the OCA member platform, which is called Causeway. So what the collaboration tool is for IEC, we use a system developed by Causeway, and any and all working groups that you are interested in. So when you onboard, we'll give you more information, but just to show you, this is the collaboration tool. When you go there, oca.causeway.now, you get to the collaboration tool, and then you click on new user, because you'll be a new user. And then it's asking for which company you, on behalf of which company, and then the company is IEC Liaison A. So select IEC Liaison A, and then type in your contact information, and then you will get access to the Causeway platform, which looks like this. So here you have your own page. You can see all the working groups that you will want to take part in. And you can select one or all of them, and that will mean that you'll be included in the mailing list. You get all the emails of all the discussions and access to all the information. The working group that you'll most likely be most interested in is the technology working group. As I specified, that's the group that develops the protocol itself. And there is a main technology working group, and there are several sub-working groups. So to the left, you see, for instance, we have a group on aircraft charging. We used to have a group on ISO 15118-20. The group has ended because ISO 15118-20 is now an integral part of the upcoming OCPP 2.1. There's a networking tasking group that will start again shortly. So there's a whole list, and you can select which topics you're interested in. Also, all the discussions are there, and all the draft documentation. So when you're a liaison expert, you'll have access to all of these. Then I'd like to hand back to Hussein, who will explain more about the connection to all the other IEC work that's currently undergoing.
Thank you, Lonneke. So As you explained, OCA make it available for IEC experts to join the OCA working group. One thing that I want to highlight is that IEC 63584 is in the heart of the system. So as you see in the figure in front of you, which is actually a simplified or a partial view of architecture and protocols, and you can see easily the important position of IEC 63584 in the system with many adjacent standards. So why I'm showing this, I don't have the intention to go technical or to discuss any technical issue here, but I'm trying to say that we have several things to consider. One thing is that we might have different working items in progress at the same time. So this means that we need to collaborate to reduce complexity to avoid inconsistency. And this is very important for, let's say, the whole system. So, of course, IEC 63584 is between the uh, charging station and the backend or the charging station management system, but we need exchange of data within the whole system, making it very important to try to synchronize or harmonize or do things together. So this is one important point to highlight. Another point is that it's very important to include national committees, working group, keeping them up to date, making uh, the new features of OCPP or drafts available for members and to provide a feedback. So what I will present next is continuation of what you presented, Lonneke, before, and it's actually the framework that is proposed by OCA for this collaboration or the start of this collaboration. So next slide, please. So in this framework, what you see, no, the one before, please. Yeah, thank you. So we see in the middle with the yellow color the cycle of OCA regarding OCPP development, then followed by review draft, then the public review before the publication. Um, and here OCA proposed a framework of collaboration that fits the cycle, and it consists of four mechanisms for IEC experts to participate, to provide feedback. So the proposition, as you see, A, B, C, D, for point A, and during the development phase, IEC experts have the ability to fully participate in the technical development, and this is what Lonneke has explained in details, so I'll not go into this. Part B, and this goes into the review draft phase and allows, let's say, other experts that maybe did not join in point A within relevant to see to have the visibility of the process and the documents, draft documents. C, which is during the public review. No, we're still in the review draft phase, sorry. So C is the ability for relevant IEC committees, let's say, to comment and provide feedback during the review of the draft phase. So we'll get back to this point later on. And D, of course, it's always open, the ability to provide the feedback during the public review phase. Of course, one thing that is very clear, and it's always good to say that national committees will always have vote on the submitted documents for approval as IEC standards. So this is the one to the right with the dark blue color. This is an important step that is very clear, but it's always good to remind. So this is a brief description of the proposition of OCA to IEC through the INF document. I don't know, Lonneke, if I missed any important point.
Nope.
Okay, great. So we can go to next slide and elaborate on the proposal. So OCA will, on an ongoing basis, sharing with the IEC committees copies of relevant working documentation, roadmaps, draft, etc. And this is, of course, subject to the same circulation restrictions applicable to IEC internal work documents. And OCA technical groups will be open to accept from IEC committees any relevant in, let's say, feedback, observation, and comments. However, one point is that comments that are submitted uh, are subject to feedback policy, and I think Lonneke, you would be better to explain the feedback policy of OCA.
Yes, so as I mentioned before, the Open Charge Alliance has an IP policy of no licenses. And also, if you provide feedback, we ask you to agree to that fact. So if you contribute, knowledge to OCPP that you agree that it's free for everyone. So it's not covered by your licenses. So that's the intention of the feedback policy.
Okay, simple. Um, the last point is that within the proposition, once again, there is the uh, possibility to coordinate with or to collaborate to provide comments from IEC technical committees or a framework inside IEC. After having, of course, the documents. However, the process in general is not finalized. What I'm trying to say clearly is that we are having positive and construction discussion that has started within IEC to find a suitable framework for the collaboration, but it's not yet concluded. So still, you can start, of course, joining OCA working group. The link is already shared within IEC if somebody needs it's shared within the joint working group 11. And I think that the sharing of documents from OCA part will start. Is it this right, Lonneke?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, great. That's
Okay, so
the
then the one thing I'd like to add is in this picture you see technical committees, numbers of which we think they have a good interest in a relation with the 63584, but it's not limited to this. So the liaison is between OCA and TC69, but all the services are for any TC committee, so TC1 till TC100. So, or even more. I don't know how many technical committees there are in IEC, but it's for any IEC expert can see the documentation or join as a liaison member. Okay, then I think this was our last slide, what we wanted to present. We can imagine that you have several questions. Now I'd like to hand over to Hannah. She'll coordinate the questions.
Yes, thank you, Lonneke. So now we will start the Q&A. So Lonneke, you can now stop sharing your slides, and I will take over to start answering your questions. So let's have a look at the questions we got from you. We have two questions from Emmanuel Dubois. He would like to know if after the positive vote of Senelec, does it mean that we will have soon an EN IEC 63584? So will we get an IN number as well?
So personally, I don't know because I have not heard anything from Senelec. So I'm not informed in that respect. Perhaps Hussein has heard anything from Senelec, but I have heard no news.
in fact, what I understand is that OCPP is also approved by Senelec European standard at the number EN 63584 is the one that will be used. So that's what I understand.
Yeah. All right. Then we'll have a look at another question, which is maybe for both of you. Do we know when this IEC 63584 or its IN version will become mandatory in the European Union within half a year?
Again, I can take this question. I don't know. I have not heard from any news on that. So it could be, but I wouldn't know. That's a question I think for the European Commission to answer.
Yeah, so we will see.
Okay.
Then we have quite a broad question. So can you maybe explain what this development means for OCPP 1.6 and perhaps for the future editions of OCPP?
Yes, I can answer that. So OCPP 1.6 is a previous version of OCPP, which was published in 2015. So it's now a respectable decade ago. It covers a lot of functionality, basic functionality for EV charging. So it's the use of many parties, and it's used all across the world. For the collaboration with IEC, we have chosen the latest version, OCPP 2.0.1, plus all future versions. So OCPP 1.6 will remain in use. It will be continuously supported by OCA, but OCPP 1.6 will not be submitted to IEC for IEC adoption. So the version at IEC currently is 2.0.1, edition 3, which means all the errata included in the main document. And the future editions of 201 with more errata fixed will also be submitted to IEC, and future iterations of OCPP, so OCPP 2.1 will also be submitted to IEC. So starting with 201 edition 3, all the future versions of OCPP will be offered to IEC for approval.
All right. Okay. And Lonneke, you talked a lot about the liaison membership, which IEC members can take. So maybe you can explain a little bit what it means for them, and if, for example, they can join our events or our Plugfests with our upcoming Plugfest next week. So what does membership mean?
Okay, so membership. So in general, a lot of the services that OCA does are open to anybody. So anybody can join the Plugfest. Anybody can certify. Anybody can download the protocol. The importance of becoming a member, whether it's a paying member or a liaison member, is that you can contribute to the working groups and can be active in suggesting changes, suggesting new features, so joining in the discussion when the group is discussing what the best option would be to fix something. So if you really want to be actively engaged in the development of OCPP, that's the benefit of becoming a member. And of course, but that's not the case for IEC Expert. If you're a paying member, you get discounts, but that's not the case for liaison members because you don't pay then. Yeah, you can't get a discount.
Yeah, okay, that's clear. Then we have another question about the European perspective. So do you already know when IEC 63584 is going to be used in European legislation? So will it become a push factor for shifting from OCPP 1.6 to 2.0.1?
So again, so I don't know the intention of the European Commission in moving forward with mandating any standard and to what extent. In some countries, OCPP is mandated for funding. So if you want subsidy, you have to implement OCPP. I don't know. I know in the Netherlands for public tenders it is required. So it depends. I think that what we've seen in the past, that the industry decide which versions they want to use. And of course, having funding opportunities is a driver. But mostly companies will use the version that fits them best. The difference between the subsequent versions 2.0.1 and 2.1 and the version 1.6 is it has more advanced features. So I think that when the industry is moving towards more advanced features such as bidirectional charging, that will drive the industry towards 201 and future versions. But again, from the side of OCA, we support all the different versions. So 1.6 still supported with certification program. We do errata management. We have Plugfest for 1.6. So it's not abandoned at all. It's just what the industry, what they need. They should choose the version that fits best their needs.
All right. Then we got another question from Olga Petrova. She says, thank you for the presentation. And also she says that she's part of 6 sets of IEC. So I'm not really sure what this means. Maybe Hussein can help. So it's SYC, SIT. So does anybody of you know which group or committee it is? And if she can join as part of this group?
So what I understand from Nutka is that there is no restriction on which committee or on
Yeah.
which technical committee from OCA side. It's open to all IEC liaison participants, to IEC experts, I mean. So I don't see any, let's say, restriction on joining OCA based on this. Within IEC, I don't see also any problem in this. One thing that I clearly indicated at the end of the presentation is that the framework within IEC is not yet concluded. We are having discussions. So we don't have a framework yet, but given that the link is available, that OCA provides this, I don't see any problem in joining the technical groups.
Yeah, agreed. So anybody who's an IEC expert can join.
Yeah. All right. Then we have another question, maybe just to clarify. So the IC standard is based on OCPP 2.0.1. So someone wants to know, so what does it mean? Is it exactly identical to the new OCPP version? Are there some other differences? So maybe we can clarify again on that.
Yeah. So that's really important. So IEC 6584 is exactly the same as OCPP 201 edition 3. And if you see the IEC version and the OCPP version, you put them together. It's exactly the same. The only difference is the first few pages are IEC standard overlay. But there is it's exactly, that's the reason why we did the fast track. It's just OCPP 201 is exactly adopted. So there's no difference between the two versions.
Yes, and another question which is related to this, so will the OCPP 201 document still be available on the OCA website?
Yeah.
So I think that's really clear, so they will still be available. Then we got another question. Are we going to clarify in the OCA process how we take into consideration NC feedbacks for changes or future revisions? So Lonneke, maybe you can take this question on.
Yeah, sure. So what we described in the what Hussein described in the option 3, where you might not necessarily actively join OCA as an IEC liaison, but you provide feedback. You see the draft documentation and you provide feedback. That's included in the cooperation between IEC and OCA. So that's possible. So if national committees or through other groups provide feedbacks or suggestions, OCA will take that into account, of course.
All right. Then we have a question for Hussein. So what are the duties as an IEC liaison member? Are there any fees to pay to join or any other things that people should know?
I don't know if the question is clear. The fees to join OCA as IEC expert. Well, also during the presentation, Lonneke said that it's free to join, so there will not be any fee for IEC experts to go and join the technical work groups of OCA. If I understand well the question, but for this there are no fees.
Yeah. And are there any other duties that IEC liaison members should take? So what is expected of them? Anything you can tell about that?
So uh, that's okay. I don't know what perspective is considered to say what are the duties. There are IEC duties that are clear within IEC. When they join the technical groups of OCA, it's within OCA. Lonneke can explain more the duties, the obligations. So it depends on the context. Within IEC, it's clear it's the same as IEC. Within OCA, it's Lonneke, I think you can maybe explain. So what I can say regarding this question is maybe they are asking if there are obligations to join and not to join, but once joined in the technical groups of OCA. Okay.
No. So within OCA, of course, we hope that people are really active, and we hope that they provide good feedback. We frequently ask them to review, so we hope that they spend some time to review. But there are no obligations. I think the OCA, as many organizations, has these rules, Robert rules of engagement. So just be polite and friendly and positive, and then yeah. So it's very there are no strict rules, and I think what we would expect from IEC experts is, of course, to help connect to IEC. But I don't think that there's any formal. So we won't. We will not work with like formal representations of technical committees at the moment. But again, as Hussein explained, maybe there will be, or it would be really good if there would be some coordination within IEC. But that's currently under development to see if there could be some sort of coordination between OCA and all the different IEC committees, but we'll see.
Okay. Then we have another question looking towards the future. So what will be the time frame for the future? Will there be yearly updates on different aspects, maybe quarterly updates and notifications? So again, can you give an outlook on that?
Yeah, so thank you. So within OCPP, the OCPP 201 version is currently every 2 months. We publish a list of errata. And that is because many companies are implementing it and certifying, and that brings about questions about certain clarifications. So every 2 months we have a short list of errata, and we assemble them, and at set times we provide an updated edition where we include all the errata. That's for the OCPP side. And we are currently also discussing with at the IEC to see, okay, OCPP 201 edition 3 is an IEC standard. When we launch OCPP 201 edition 4, which is the same with errata merged, does it make sense to again submit it for a fast track? That would be our hope, that it's possible to keep the OCPP version and the IEC version exactly the same. And when as soon as the 2.1 version is published, we'll again also provide that to IEC. And it's a bit of a balance between the speed of development within OCA and, of course, the procedures within IEC. They're very robust, and they are very well considered. They take a bit of time. So we are discussing currently with IEC how can we match those two development speeds that it's optimal for everybody.
Mm-hmm. All right. Then we got another question, also for looking towards the future. So is there a timeline for when OCPP 2.1 will be released and when it will be part of the IC standard?
Yes. So OCPP 2.1, which is the follow-up version of 201. 201 was published in 2020. So it's currently already 2025, so 5 years later. So at the end of this month, we will publish OCPP 2.1, which is exactly the same as 2.0.1, but with slightly improved functionality here and there, and added new functionality. So what has been added is the long-awaited bidirectional charging and the long-awaited DER, distributed energy resources support. So support for the utility grid codes. Direct payment has been added, battery swapping has been added. So there have been several additions on functionality. Important to say that the part of 2.1 that we will publish is the specification itself. The test cases will take a couple of months more. Usually you first develop the standard and then the test cases to test for the standard. So at the end, short answer, at the end of this month, we will publish OCPP 2.1, which is an extended backwards compatible version of 2.01. And the test cases will follow, I think, hopefully by the end of this year. Then the question is, at what point will we submit OCPP 2.1 to IEC? That's again what I mentioned. That's what we're currently discussing with IEC, what would make sense. It's not if, but when. So already this year, or yeah, that's what we're currently discussing with IEC.
Mm-hmm. All right. I got another question about the related standards. So it's about IEC 63382 and about IEC 63119. So what is the phase or the status of these standards? And the second question is IEC 63119 based on OCPI?
Okay.
Hussein, would you like to take that one?
Yeah, so we have two parts. It's regarding first 63119, where there is the ongoing work on it. I'm not following it in detail, so I cannot speak a lot of it. The second part is what? Can you repeat, please, the second part of the question?
Yes, of course, I can repeat. So the first one was about both standards. The second one was about is IEC 63119 based on OCPI?
Okay, so I answered the second part regarding 63119. Regarding 63882, what is the question? It's not clear for me because.
Yeah, the question is if it is based on OCPI. So maybe
Maybe
No,
you can help
we
can
have.
us.
interject. I see Cor has turned off his camera. So as I introduced in the beginning, Cor Meelker, he is our OCA IEC liaison. So I think Cor wants to add something. Cor, go ahead.
Yeah, I want to add because I'm a member of all these working groups and attend the sessions. 63382 is about flexibility of energy, and it's currently in the midst of getting their standards ready for publication. So they're in what they call in IEC at CDV states FDIS status. So that means standards are prepared. So that's a link between the CPO and the energy world, flexibility. And the IEC 63119 is currently also in the midst of CDV. So they are preparing their documents. They're working on the statements, and it's not based on OCPI. Let that be clear. It's a built-up roaming standard from scratch in parallel with the development of OCPI and OICP. So it's not related to any of those standards. So we have to see what happens there. But that's the status. It's both in development. So they are not published as a standard you can use in any of the development.
All right. Thank you, Cor. Thank you for joining and thank you for helping with this question. We have another very technical question by Mark Clemens. So for the errata, are you thinking about entering an IEC tissue process like it exists for IEC 61850 or IEC 62351 to enter and discuss errata via an IEC process? So can somebody help with this question?
So I think if I understand the question correctly, I'm not familiar with the terminology of IEC that well. So what the way we work with in OCPP, so we have a version, and I think this is the same everywhere. So you have a version, and then you keep a list of errata. And at a certain point, when the list becomes too long, that means that when you're developing, you have to check both documents, and you're prone to make mistakes. So then you merge them into one. So you just have to check the latest document with all the fixes in there. And that's what we call a new edition at OCPP edition 4 or 5. And those will be again submitted for fast track procedure. So there will not be a separate errata submission to IEC. What we'll submit to IEC is the entire package with all the errata included. The errata, the notification of that there's unclarity, and the discussion, so should it be light blue or dark blue or purple? So what do we mean exactly? Those discussions will be done inside OCA in the technology working group. And as I mentioned, the draft errata will be part of the draft documentation that we share with IEC. So when you're IEC expert, you have visibility of the ongoing errata, the discussion on the draft errata. So they will be involved either providing feedback from their own technical committee or as a liaison actively inside OCA. So that's what I understand of the way we could work together with IEC. But again, so Hussein and myself are in a good cooperation with IEC to see what are the procedures within IEC. So what do we do within OCA, and how will they match?
Yeah, all right. So for now, I don't see any more questions. So maybe Lonneke, if you want to add something to wrap the session up, you can do so. And otherwise, I will take over for closing it.
Okay, so last remarks. First of all, thank you so much for Hussein for joining, and also Cor for jumping in with support. Thank you. I think that I hope that we'll have a great cooperation. I hope that many IEC experts will join OCA, or that we'll get a lot of feedback. There's a lot of work to be done. There's a lot happening. So not only OCPP is developing rapidly, but all the other standards of protocol are also developing very rapidly. It's a global change. So there are things happening in Europe, in North America, in Japan, and we all need to work together and bring them on board. But I think with this great cooperation that we have with the IEC, we're well equipped for the future. So thanks thanks again to IEC for supporting us in this way, and I hope to see a lot of experts from IEC in the coming weeks and months and years working together on OCPP.
Yes, thank you, Lonneke. So Hussein, do you also want to wrap the webinar up and close it?
Yeah. So first of all, thank you for inviting me to be part of this presentation. As you said, Lonneke, standards are being developed fast and evolving fastly. So everything is evolving, and it's important that we coordinate and we collaborate together so that we are more efficient and we advance more the ecosystem and standard landscape. Once again, always push for collaboration, push for working with each other, and I hope that IEC experts as well join the OCA as liaison partners to our participants to actively develop and involve in the development of OCPP.
All right, thank you very much. Also, I would like to give the word to Cor. So do you have any final remarks or thoughts you would like to share with us today?
No, a lot has been said already, but I think it's good to conclude that we finally make this webinar of closing off a period of a couple of years of trying to get our OCPP standard into the IEC platform. And we're looking forward to have a good collaboration with the other technical working groups and getting the whole architecture of the whole EV standards correctly working together and joined together. So there's still a lot of work to be done. A lot of them are still in development, and we continue to make OCPP better again than it's already. And I think that's very important. As Hussein already said, it's the heart, the center of all standards. And for those who expect that it would be fast, sorry, European Commission doesn't work fast. For you, I'm in Brussels working on these kind of lobbying things and getting standards done. In this case, smart charging. So there's a lot to be done. You have to have a long pace, so it will take some time to get it all running. But I think it's good to be transparent like this to our members, stating this is where we are. We don't know everything yet, but we're working on it, the three of us.
Yeah, thanks for this conclusion, Cor. So now it's time to close this webinar. I want to thank everyone for participating, for sending in all your questions and input. If you have any questions that we didn't address, you can email us via info@openchargealliance.org, and we will get back to you as soon as possible. So we hope to see you again soon at one of our events or at one of our webinars. So if you want to stay up to date, you can check our events calendar on our website, or you can follow us on LinkedIn. For now, I will close the session. I will thank you for joining, and I wish you all a good day.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye bye.
Bye.